guys, we are going to be doing our black set review today, our 4th video in our, I believe, 8 video segment. Yanks is on the call again. We're going to be jumping straight into black, and we're going to be talking about the Angel of Suffering first. So the Angel of Suffering is a 5 mana Nightmare Angel. It's a 5/3 with flying, and if you're dealt damage, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. This feels a lot more constructed to me because of the mill mechanics, some graveyard synergy there. But that said, I mean, it's still a 5/3 flyer. What do you think, Yanks?
Yeah, it's a 5/3 flyer, and I mean, pretty good in a race situation.
Certainly true, and that assumes you're taking damage. If you've got ground creatures to also like gum up the board, you know, chump block, trade, whatever you need to do, that seems kind of cool. I think that, you know, this is likely to get there more often than you might think. Now, if it's your only thing on the board and they can return 8 damage, then you're likely going to die from the race anyway. So whether you're milling cards or dying from the damage, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and also, like, if you've been taking damage and milling cards and then trying to race and then they remove this somehow, you know, you haven't taken any of that damage and you probably still have enough cards.
Yeah,
right.
I like
So
this
it can
card.
like sort of interrupt the clock.
I think it's a 4.
Yeah,
it's not leaving any sort of lasting effect, but it's doing what you want it to do. It's a big fat beastie in the air that they can't really deal with. Now it only has a 3 booty, so it's very likely to get removed easily. But if that's the case, then there's no downside, right? You just ate one of their good removal spells, and you get to call it a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and give this a 4.
I like that.
All right, the Body Launderer. We have a 4 mana 3/3 Ogre Rogue with Death Touch. Hate large creatures with Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, this connives. When Body Launderer dies, return another target non-rogue creature card with equal or lesser power from the graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, seems reasonable.
Yeah. So you're getting back a 3 power or less now, but if you've connived it, made it larger, then you can get something bigger. All right. Yeah, the 4 mana Death Toucher is 3/3. You know, that's nice, I guess, that it helps you trade up and get something back. But yeah, I tend to like my Death Toucher smaller as well.
Yeah, that said, I mean, still a 3/3 Death Toucher for 4 in black seems pretty on rate. So, yeah. I mean, it's a mythic, of course, so it does some other shit, but I think that this is very playable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a, you know, assuming it's not the only creature you've gotten into your graveyard when it dies, it's probably it's almost a guaranteed 2-for-1.
Agreed. And I like the long-term value of getting to connive late game, pitching those excess lands, making attacking for your opponent very difficult. Even if they're okay with trading this, they might, you know, if you have other creatures, you don't trade this. You trade your other things, you pitch your lands, you gain a card advantage, and you can pull ahead in the game that way. I think this is like a 4 for me. It's a slow 4, but it does some good work.
Yeah, you can set this up too, right? If you get a chance to connive, you can pitch a creature that you can get back. If you want the counter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this card. I think might have it as a 3/5 just because I think it's pretty objectively worse than the last card.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. If they just answer it right away, I feel like this is a lot better.
Yeah,
I think if they just have the 3 damage burn spell or whatever, right?
If they answer it right away, yes. I think this is harder. It's harder for this card to win the game, though.
Yeah. I think the Angel is better if they don't have an answer. But again, if they don't have an answer, this is likely to get there too, because then the game is going long, I suppose. So I think effectively they'll do the same. So I'm going to say they're roughly a 4.
Yeah, a little lower on this one.
Cemetery Tampering. We have a 3 mana enchantment with Hideaway 5. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 3 cards. Then, if there are 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you may play the exiled card without paying the mana cost. Huh. So this synergizes with our Angel, but not unlimited.
Yeah.
Huh? So, Hideaway 5, if you mill yourself enough, you then get to play it for 3 mana. This seems kind of not good even in Constructed.
I mean, in Constructed, and you find a way to abuse this by putting, like, Emrakuls and stuff in your deck.
Yeah.
So you get to cast something huge for free. But
the other thing is if this is enabling your other graveyard synergies, right? Like getting your Vengevines and things like that into your deck.
Yeah.
You care more about getting the 3 mill than you do the actual hideaway mechanic ability. Then I think that's what this is for.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this is, I don't know, unplayable and limited.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to give this a 1. Corrupt Court Official, a 2 mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards a card, a human advisor. So we've been seeing these all over the place. They're usually pretty good. We see them in like 1/1 elves. We had one last time that was an artifact, a little bit better, I think, because it synergized with the format. But yeah, I like this. It's in the color that wants to convict. I don't know what it's called. Sack 1/1s basically.
Casualty.
It's in the set that wants to casualty. And also there's like the Rakdos sack abilities as well that wants to do some stuff. And you're going to get some card advantage because you're making them discard. So I think this is very playable.
Yeah. Not amazing, but I'll play this in pretty much any black deck.
Yeah. The Beetle in the last set was surprisingly good.
Oh, yeah. The Virus Beetle. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was insane. I think this is like a 2/5 for me.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
All right, we have a 2 mana 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, tapped. Huh, that's a great rate.
Yeah.
I don't think I care if it enters the battlefield tapped.
No, I don't see it. Cheap. Even if you're playing it later, you're probably playing it as part of multiple spells. Sure, not the best top deck in the world late game because it's really slow, but
what 2-drop
it's a 2-drop.
is.
They're not supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be better than most of those 2-drops, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, the creatures don't seem that big so far. We haven't seen green, but in general, all of white and black and blue so far, 3 power is going to trade with most things. So I think this is like a 2/5.
Yeah, and it's got fantastic flavor text.
Nothing to see here, just carrying a carpet. Yes, the carpet wears boots. Stop asking questions. Nice. That is great flavor text. I agree. A Cut of the Prophets. X black for a sorcery that has casualty 3. Draw X cards and you lose X life.
This is a draw spell I like.
I like it ish. I would play this if it didn't have casualty, and I feel like the casualty is not going to come into play all that often. I don't know if I want to sack a 3-powered creature super often for an additional 2 to 3 cards.
Yeah, I think casualty only comes into play if you have something that's locked down or is wrecked by, if you're got a 3/1 that's you get a bunch of 1/4s or something to deal with.
That said, though, the white lockdown spell you can remove. So if it's that big of a creature, you might not want to. One of the blue lockdown spells turns it into a 1/1, so this still doesn't work. So it's really just the one that taps it down in blue so far that really does that. The white and one of the blue ones really doesn't count. So yeah, I mean, this is something I'm playing, certainly. I just am not impressed with the casualty ability.
Yeah, I think that's just a little bonus to the card that might come up every once in a while.
Yeah, this is going to be a 3 for me.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, we have a Cutthroat 1/1 for 1, pay 1 life. Gets +1/+0 until end of turn, activate only once. Nah.
Yeah, no, I'm not interested.
1/5. If you're desperate. A deal gone bad. We have a 4-mana instant. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. Target player mills 3 cards. Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, mill stuff is probably not super relevant, but
it is a
it might be
slow
on
format.
occasion. Yeah.
If this
might be on
if this becomes a grindier format, if you have 2 of these, they're only at common. I can see 6 cards making the difference.
Yeah, as I said, it'll come up occasionally, but really it's just 4 mana -3/-3.
All right. Oh, especially with all the connive too. Opponents might be going through their deck quite quickly. All right, Demons do.
Sorry, so what are we giving that?
3/5.
3/5. Okay.
Demons do a 4-mana instant. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. Yeah, that's fine. It's instant. These are always playable. I'm usually happy to play 1 in every single black deck.
Yeah, I mean, we played Read the Bones was great for 3 mana at sorcery speed. This is probably on par with that.
All right, so we're gonna give this one a 3, I think.
3, yep.
All right. Dig Up the Body. We have a 3-mana instant that has Casualty 1, mill 2 cards. Then you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If you're making a lot of tokens, then you can obviously get 2 creature cards back. I tend to like... We see this card a lot at 3 mana, sometimes at instant speed, but most of the time at sorcery that lets you just get 2 creatures back from your graveyard. So this feels worse to me than usual.
Yeah, it's definitely worse. The instant speed's nice, but it is worse than the ones we've been seeing.
So, I mean, this is probably like a 2 to me?
Yeah, a 2.
Dusk Mangler, 7 mana for a 5/4 horror. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, discard a card, or pay 4 life. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature, discards a card, and loses 4 life. Huh. That's a lot of things it makes your opponent do.
Yeah. This is it better because this is expensive. 7 mana for a 5/4 is terrible, and it's not 7 mana, it's 7 mana plus something else. But that is a really good ETB trigger.
I feel like the paying 4 life is not unreasonable.
No, I think that's the one you would most like to.
Or if you have 7 mana, there's a good chance you have a spare land hanging about. And it forces your opponent to sacrifice a creature. Now, they might have 1/1s or something, but like I think this is going to be quite scary. And 4 damage is actually kind of a lot late game, and it could just kill somebody.
Yeah, I mean, that 4 life goes both ways, right? It's late game, so that 4 life might be too much for you to pay either.
Yeah, but you have the option. You don't have to do all
you have
3
the option.
things. Yeah.
Sure. And also it's a late game spell, right? So they may have no cards in hand.
I'm just saying, like, the spell that you can target a person to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life? I've killed people with that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So this is just going to be twice as often. Like, I mean, granted, it costs more, but like when you're usually doing that, it's super late in the game anyway. And at that point, you just sack your creature or discard a card to make that happen.
Yeah, this is also a card I'm going to be looking out the rest of black to see if we have any sort of reanimation spells.
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily think that this is something I would be interested in exclusively running the reanimation for, but I mean, it's certainly an option if you have other things that are also good for the target. I think this is like a 2/5. I'm happy to run this as a 1 of on the top end.
It's interesting because the way we were talking about it, we're actually it's opposite because I think it's better than I think it's a 3. And I was talking it down and you were talking it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's still 7 mana, so you can only really like run 1 of them. A lot of times it's not going to get there.
Yeah, maybe
I like this card more than I like the what was that stupid idiot?
The crocodile.
Yeah, I like this more than I like the crocodile at the same mana cost.
Yeah, maybe I'm a a little too hopeful that this format will be slow.
I gave the crocodile a 2 for the sewer croc. So that's probably why it sounded like I was talking it up, because I didn't like hate it.
Yeah.
Extract the Truth. 2 mana for a sorcery. Choose one. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a creature, enchantment, or planeswalker card from it. That player discards that card, or an opponent sacrifices an enchantment specifically. It's flexible. Choose a creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. I feel like this is going to miss a lot.
Yeah, this is just a sideboard card for me.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not seeing a ton of enchantments that I really care all that much about. And most likely the enchantment and planeswalker side won't hit, so you're looking to make them hit a creature, which, you know, after the first couple of turns, they don't often have one, so I think this is a sideboard card.
Yeah.
Fake Your Own Death. 2 mana for an instant. Until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when this creature dies. Return to the battlefield under its owner's control, and you create a treasure token. Yeah, this is a fantastically named card for this particular ability.
For sure.
They did a great job with this. These cards are okay. They trade up well. They give you a treasure, which I'm more inclined to run in a 3-color format. So if you're actually running the full wedge, I think this is playable but easy to cut. So like a 2?
Yeah, we see these effects in most sets nowadays, and you know, you're never too upset to play them, but they get cut fairly often.
Yeah, I tend to not run them. I think I will run this one more than any of the more recent ones, because I like the treasure a lot.
Fair.
And the +2/+0 is a lot nicer than some of them as well. Like, that trades up pretty big.
Yeah, a lot of the more recent ones have been 1 mana too.
Yeah. 5 mana for an Ogre Warrior. That's a 4/4. When it dies, create a tapped 2/2 rogue creature token. You could blitz this in, which then just means it redraws itself and you get the 2/2. So yeah, this is a fine top end-ish creature for a common.
Yeah, works really well, as all blitz creatures would, with like that mythic body launderer, right? Because every time this will die and you'll get to connive and you'll still get a token or out of it.
Yeah. For only 5 mana, I actually feel like this is getting close to that 3 realm, but like it still feels like a 2/5 to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a 2/5. Maybe we're a little spoiled from the 5 drop from Midnight Hunt that made 2. It was a 3/4 that made 2 2/2s.
Oh, yes and no. Like, this has the ability to just kill somebody with Blitz, right? Which I do like. And the fact that this 2/2 rogue doesn't go away after it attacks, unlike the ones in Midnight Hunt. I actually think that this is pretty good. I'm leaning towards a 3. The one in Midnight Hunt was amazing because of the go wide synergies and all the sack outlets with extort, or whatever that it was, exploit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think this is a 2/5 for me.
Okay, I'm somewhere in the middle, undecided. Graveyard Shift, 5 mana sorcery. The spell has flash as long as there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Here's your recursion at 5 mana, just like you would expect.
Yeah.
Sometimes having flash is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you can occasionally get an ambush, and heck, if you've got that 7 drop in there, that's a mana value that is not going to conflict with anything else in your deck.
Yeah, I like this card well enough. I'm probably running one of them in most decks.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like a 3.
It's a 3, yeah.
If my deck is a bunch of little, like, sacrifice, low-to-the-ground shitters, then I'm not running that, just to be clear. Like, we have to have, like, a couple of the, like, if we had that 7 drop in our deck, then we're pretty happy to run this.
Agreed.
Grisly Sigil, a 1 mana sorcery, casualty 1. Choose target creature or planeswalker. If it was dealt non-combat damage this turn, Grisly Sigil deals 3 damage to it, and you gain 3 life. Otherwise, it deals 1 damage. Huh.
This is a very interesting card, right? Because it's almost never going to want to play this without casualtying it. Because then you're going to get 4 damage for the spell.
I see, yeah.
Playing it for 1, I mean, playing it just on its own, yeah, you can kill an X1, which comes up, or a creature that's been dealt enough damage to only need 1 more to finish it off. But after combat, yeah, I think you're just going to want to have a lot of sacrifice fodder to play this card.
Yeah, it's weird because there were so many X1s in Kamigawa that we wanted to kill. Like, I feel like this card would be quite good in Kamigawa and is quite bad in this set. Because most of the 1/1s are tokens, or most of the X1s, but we're not seeing a ton, right?
Well, I actually took a look before we started the review, and I think there are, and again, I didn't check by rarity, but there are 13 X1s in the set, not counting tokens.
13. I don't think I want to kill a token, though, so I like kind of didn't count them already anyway. Like, I remember I saw the 1/2/1 in blue. There was like the sucky 3/1 in white that like were not running in most decks. But Kamigawa had like a ton of like 2/1s that had good abilities, and I just don't think that that's been the case so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some 2/1 flyers. But yeah, I think for the most part, you're right. It certainly doesn't look like it did last set.
Yeah. So we're only wanting to run this if we have the sack fodder, I think, consistently, to where we don't feel bad about it being a 2-for-1. It's got to be a cheap creature, some sort of token, probably. So this feels like a 2 to me. It's a cuttable, playable card if you happen to have the room. Sideboardable if they tend to have a bunch of the like 2/1 flying angels, then sure. But I'm not super interested in this card.
No, I think you're wanting to fodder, or just you're desperate for removal.
Agreed. Illicit Shipment. We have a 5-mana sorcery with casualty 3. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. 5 mana is a lot to pay.
Yep. Limited tutors? No, thank you.
Yeah. Now, if you've got 6 game-winning bombs, sure. I mean, if you have 2 game-winning bombs, fine. But yeah, having to pay an extra 5 mana sorcery speed for it is kind of meh. And then killing off a 3/3 to get another one is also very meh. Yeah, I'm not super into it. It's like a 1/5 for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Not saying you'll never want to play this, but very often it's just not worth the extra time. You can't in limited spend 5 mana do nothing very often, even if you are getting a bomb.
Yeah, I mean, how many bombs are you willing to pay 11 mana for, or 10 mana for? Because that's basically what you're doing, and 2 cards. Yeah. Well, 1 card, because it replaces itself, I guess.
Agreed. All right, so we have a lot of sorceries in these colors. We have a 2-mana sorcery, says choose 2 target creatures controlled by the same player. That player sacrifices 1 of them. Huh.
So 2 mana, you get their second best creature.
Yeah, that's better than them just target player sacrifices a creature, which we normally get, and that usually feels bad because it's just like the 1/1. This case, it might still be the 1/1, but that's the worst case scenario. Now, another bad thing about this is, unlike those, oftentimes you can just catch them when they only have the 1 creature and you get the best creature. This never gives you that chance because it doesn't say choose up to, right? You just, if they don't have 2 creatures, this doesn't do anything.
Exactly. Yep.
And then that's like super feels bad. So if they just have a dragon out and they can just beat you in the face with it forever, you die.
Yeah, and then it still feels bad, right? Even if they then play something else, I still can't kill the dragon.
Yeah. So they have to have like a dragon, a baby dragon, and then a bunch of other things for this to like feel like it doesn't totally suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that said, I'm still probably running one of these if I don't have a ton of I haven't seen a lot of black removal I've been impressed with.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet.
So like, you know, what was the Kami card? Work for the Kami or whatever. The black sack.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of my black decks just didn't have quite enough removal, and I was happy to run 1 or 2 of those. This feels like that, but then you have decks that have 3 premium removal spells, and you're just like, okay, cut this card. So it's playable. It's like a 2/5, but it's gonna not be at the top end of your removal by any means.
I think if I was desperate for removal, I'd run the Grizzly Sigil before this.
Depends on the makeup of my deck. I feel like if I had any like poopy creatures, then yes. If I was very short on creatures, like if I'm like blue, black, 9 creatures, I would run this before I would run the Sigil.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably a little deck dependent.
Yeah. Join the Maestros, my set review card, or preview card. A 5 mana casualty 2, create a 4/3. You can upgrade a 2 power creature or better to another 4/3. This card is fine-ish. 5 mana for 4/3 is not great. But the fact that you can upgrade a creature is kind of cool.
Yeah, as you think about it, it's like a 5 mana for 6/4 worth of stats. Figure you get 2 4/3s and you probably lose a 2/2.
Yeah. And maybe it's a 3/3 or whatever. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay.
Or sometimes it's just your top deck on a blank board and it feels real bad, but whatever. So it's like a 2 or a 2/5 for me.
Yeah, I think I've got it as a 2/5.
It's my preview card, so I hope it's playable. All right. Maestros.
Is it your preview card because that's what you say to Twitch chat, the flavor text?
What do I say? We're a family now? I say that to you guys?
I don't know. Maybe it was a stretch.
I guess we all are married, so I suppose. 3 mana for a 3/1. We found one. Okay, maybe that card will have a target. A human citizen, relevant creature type, and for 5 mana, flexible mana cost there. Exile the initiate from your graveyard, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. I'm into this card. It's fine. This feels like a 2/5 to me.
Yep, agreed.
It's a little overcosted, but it gives you some good redraw here at the end.
Yeah, and you can do that at instant speed. It's a citizen.
Great. Midnight Assassin, a 1/2 for 3 mana with flying and death touch. Feels awkward. I don't like that my evasive creature has death touch because I want it to be on the blocks. I don't like my 1/2s to be 3 mana. This feels like my mana is just like...
Yeah, I just really wish this was a 1/3.
It's so disjointed. Yeah, if it was a 1/3 with not flying, then it'd be cool. If it was like a 2/1 that flew, it'd get in a little more damage. Because like at this point, it's flying, right? But it doesn't do enough damage to justify it being aggressive with it. You kind of want to keep it on the blocks. But then why does it have flying? Like, why am I paying the extra mana for this? It feels kind of bad.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, I mean, we've paid 3 mana for just like a 2/2 ground death toucher. And that's fine.
Yeah.
And with being death touch, it's not really much different. Since a 2/2 is not going to get in a lot of damage anyway on the ground.
It's true.
So yeah, not exciting, but I'll play the card.
It just feels so awkward.
It does.
2/5? 2?
I think it's a 2/5. But it's close.
Murder. 4.
Yeah, this is a removal spell we're happy with.
Yeah, instant speed, 3 mana, no restrictions. I'm into it. Yeah, this is just gonna be a 4. It reminds me of the fight from. Reminds me of Generals. Right.
Oh.
It looks just like the scene from Generals in World of Warcraft.
Yep.
Night Clubber, we have a 3 mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. And you can blitz it in. Sacrifice it end of turn, draw a card. I like this card. I think we're running this. I mean, it's a little, just stat-wise, it's a 1 extra, but I think you're often going to get to play this post-combat and make a kill?
Yeah, and you could also blitz it pre-combat to give yourself some favorable attacks.
Yeah.
And then get the maybe pick off an X1, let this get in, because they're not going to want to trade for it because it's going to die anyway. And then you draw a card off of it. Yeah, I mean, there are some scenarios where it's not going to do a whole lot, but
I think it's like very flexible. You could just like attack your 1/3 into their 2/2. They're going to call you most of the time, and then you just play this on 3. Seems fine to me.
yeah.
And then, like you said, sometimes you could just play this dashing, blitzed, whatever, and they're going to have crap blocks across the board, make some chumps, make some awkward trades, and then you get the better end of it.
And there go all your fish tokens.
Yeah! I mean, boo! No! Not my fishes! No! Alright, well, that makes this card better, but it makes me way less happy. I guess the fact that there was so many fish tokens does make that 1 damage spell slightly better.
Yeah.
But that's still like a 1 for 0, right? Because something.
Yeah, you're still not thrilled by that.
Yeah, like that's still like all of the fishes were a bonus. They were not the card.
Yeah. It makes it more useful. It doesn't necessarily make it good.
Yeah. Yeah, this card seems great. I'm playing this. This is like a 3.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. We have a 3-mana 1/1 human assassin in Raffine's Silencer. This better be good. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. When it dies, target player or target creature an opponent controls gets -X until end of turn, where X is this creature's power. So it's 1 damage or 2 damage?
Yeah, unless you have some other way of like putting
Pumping
counters on it or something. Yeah, it's interesting. This is the first connive card it feels like a real downside to not discard a spell and get the counter.
Yeah. This is a lot of mana for what this does. I feel like in a set with like, we're coming off of like cards like Shambling Ghast that are just like a lot better than this for a lot less mana. Like, am I crazy?
Well, I mean, I think just the difference is, right, this has the ability to actually kill something that's not just a 1/1.
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, I mean, yeah, kind of always. You just have to choose to do it. Rarely will you only have land. Now, granted, there are times, obviously, where that's the terrible decision.
Yes, that's my point. Is I think that more often than not will be the terrible decision. I like my cards. I don't know if I like a whole card for +1/+1 plus an extra point of damage on this, and that might not even kill a thing. Like, what if you do it and then they just have an army of 3/3s and you're just like, well, fudge.
Well, it still trades up for any one of those, right?
Unless they just kill it.
Yeah.
With like a shock or a one-sided fight spell, like goodness. Or
I don't
shield?
think this card. Well, -X.
Well, but they bounce, right? Like the damage from this creature hits the shield, and then it deals the -2 onto the -X onto the 3/3, which doesn't kill it.
Yeah, you would not block the thing with the shield then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I'm saying, like, you could pitch a card early on turn 3 in hopes that this then can kill something better, and then it still doesn't necessarily come into play. And then you're like, well, poop, I wish I had my card.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a great card. But I do think it is playable.
Yeah. I'm not super happy with it. If I've got some weird connive payoffs or graveyard synergies, I'm into it. But for the most part, I think this is a borderline playable. I'm going to cut most of the time. I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah, I think it's right around a 2. Unless you have the synergies to make it better.
I'm even leaning to be lower, but all right. We have a Revel Ruiner for 4 mana. We have a 3/1 with Menace. It's a Cephalid. Let's go. When it enters the battlefield, connives. 3/1 with Menace is kind of cool, but it is 4 mana. That's kind of a lot.
Yeah, I think we're seeing, to some degree here, the black creatures are much more wanting you to connive for the counter.
Yes, so 4/2 Menacer.
Yeah. Now, some of that's because you see some of these spells to get cards back from the graveyard, or cards that care about having different mana values in the graveyard.
Yeah, we have seen that.
So I think there's a little bit of synergy there.
I'm wondering, do you ever, with all of these, prefers to pitch permanent like spells? I'm wondering if that decreases the amount of land you have to run in your deck.
I don't think so, because none of these are cheap. They're all overcosted.
True.
So you need to get to that. It's getting to that land that's the problem.
Do you see what I mean, though? Like when you have...
I do.
Yeah, it's weird. I almost feel like I can get away with running less lands. If you have some of the like early 2-drop connives, then maybe that makes it a little bit cheaper, sort of like a cycle deck. Some of those cycling decks were running like 13 lands. I mean, I'm not saying you do that in this set, but maybe if you have a bunch of 2-drop connives, it does bring it down into the 16 and 15 range. We'll see.
Yeah.
This is a 2/5. I really don't like black. I don't know. I'm not into this connive thing here.
Yeah, I think it's a 2/5.
Rogue's Gallery, for each color, return up to 1 target creature card from that color from your graveyard to your hand. And the nice thing is with all the multicolor cards and it being a 3-color wedge, you're likely to get some pretty good value. This feels better than the other one that forced you to do the sacrifice, the casualty.
Yes. And you could even get even a 3-color deck. You can get like a free 4th color with some hybrid creatures that are in the set.
Possibly, yeah. So if this feels like a 3 to me, I'm running this as a 1-of for sure in every black deck.
Agreed. And it's got some pretty great Usual Suspects vibes.
Yeah. This was on my Magic Mike's top 10 today just for the art alone. All right, Sanguine Spy, we have a 3-mana 2/3 with Menace and Lifelink. All right, I'm in. We're already playing this. Doesn't really matter what the rest of this text says. Pay 1, sacrifice another creature. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. Okay, we could do this in response to removal or lockdown spells. It's just a nice bonus. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. Okay. It gets lifelink. It has lifelink, so it just removes the 2 life. So each turn, you can just get a free card every turn, basically, if this can attack. This is a very, very powerful 3-drop. Now, it's played early, reasonably easy to remove, kind of tough to get going, but that said, this can really snowball into some great card advantage.
Yeah, I like the card at its base with the upside to get out of hand. I do think a significant number of games you're never going to get to draw a card with this card, but that's okay. It's still a 3-mana, 2/3 menace lifelink that might have gotten you a little value sacrificing things.
Yeah. This actually feels quite strong to me. I like this card a lot. Someone's saying it doesn't feel strong for a rare. None of the cheap rares tend to, though. That's kind of the thing, right? You can't have like a 3-mana 7/7 flying dragon with fire breathing or whatever. Like, cheap rares tend to be low impact and snowbally like this, and they're actually a lot harder to deal with than you might think. Because if they stay on the board for a turn or two, it really puts you in a good position to put your opponent on the back foot for the remaining of the game. This is the kind of Magic I really like to play. This feels like a 4 to me. It can definitely, I think, win some games if left unattended.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Shadow of Mortality. We have a, what the Jiminy Christmas?
It's a very big hand.
15 mana spell for a 7/7 avatar. If your life total is less than your starting life total, this spell costs X less, where X is the difference. Okay, so if you're at 7 life, this costs 13 less.
Yeah, it's a really, really terrible Death Shadow.
But it is a 7/7, and what are we realistically happy to play this for? If we're paying it a 7/7, so you're like happy to play this at like 12 life?
Yeah, And even then, it just feels like a big green common.
Yes. Like, I'm probably, if I'm in black, I'm probably, let's say we're in pack 3, hypothetically. I open this and a good removal spell. I'm taking the removal spell. But that said, if I end up with this in my deck or in my pool, I'm probably going to play it if I'm in black.
Yeah, I mean, big dumb creatures have a home in Limited. That's
Agreed.
what this is. They're usually later game plays anyway, so it's not, when your life total is going to be less. And there's no life gain deck in this format, but if there was, I would not play it in that.
Yeah. And, we did see our last rare it was a rare, but had, pay 2 life, draw a card, maybe because it is only a 2/3, it can't get in to gain the life to mitigate that. So you're like possibly draining yourself some. There's like the black card that says draw, scry, and lose 2. That's going to help you get to this and still, be ahead. So this is okay. And there's just a good chance you're like way behind and you just get to land this, like way behind in the life total, stabilize, land this super cheap and kill your opponent. So this is fine. I think it's like a 2/5, but nothing exciting.
Yep.
Shakedown Heavy. We have a 3 mana 6/4 with Menace. When it attacks, defending player may have you draw a card. If they do, untap it and remove it from combat. Yeah, this is a better Regisaur by a lot.
I don't know. It's very good. I don't know if it's better than Regisaur.
I think in Limited it is.
I'm trying to think this through. It doesn't just win the game like very quickly like Regisaur can.
Yeah, but Regisaur can also Regisaur, you find yourself so like, okay, they take 7, you discarded a card, and then you discard another card and they kill it on your turn. And then you're just like, well, I'm out 2 cards and the 7 damage didn't really do that much to you. And you feel pretty bad about it. Whereas this is like, they either take the beating or you get replacement cards. And I find that will win you more games in the long run.
Maybe maybe it's just the comparison just feels off to me because it's plays very different.
Regisaur just hurt you so much in Limited, I think.
It also had absolutely no drawback if you were held that.
Yes, but that didn't happen so much on turn 3 in Limited, right? Like the point of Regisaur was that it comes down on turn 3 and does the thing, which is why I felt like it was far more of a constructed card. And if you're hellbent and my opponent is letting me draw more cards, that feels good too.
Yeah, but it might not feel as good as just killing them in a couple turns. I'm not saying this. I don't know if it's necessarily worse, but it's just a weird. This feels a lot more like that. The blue one that makes fish tokens, than it does Regisaur. Because they have the option to let it attack, or take the damage basically, or give you a incremental value.
Yeah, this sounds like it's just a card we're not going to agree on. I think I would play this over Regisaur for sure. And for me, it's not close. But that could just be a difference in play style. I think this is, because it's only 3 mana, I'm down to give this a 4.
Oh yeah, I think the card's very good. I'm giving it a 4 as well. I just think it's maybe I'm not even, I'm wrong in saying that it's necessarily that Regisaur is better. I think they're so different it's hard to compare.
They're 3 mana giant things that will kill someone very quickly is like just the general thing, and I think there is like less downside to this.
This won't kill anybody quickly. It might kill you slowly. But they can choose to take 0 damage from this card.
For how long if they're letting you draw a card every turn? They can't afford to do that. Like there's a cost here.
That's why I think it's a lot more like that 4 mana blue card.
And they also can't attack back into this very easily either on turn 3 or 4. like 4 toughness is going to be bigger than most of the things they have on board, you know, even up to turn 5 often. The set's not super large.
Yeah, it dies a lot easier to removal than Regisaur did as well.
Okay, so I'm giving that thing a 4. We're going to go ahead and move to Tavern Swindler, a 2-mana 2/2. You can pay 3 life, flip a coin. If you win, you gain 6 life. So it's a break even, but it's kind of neat in formats that have life gain triggers, which is typically where we see Tavern Swindler. And like, it's just a bear that you can sometimes gamble with, like when you need it. I don't tend to gamble with it because it is a 50-50 thing super often, but yeah, I've definitely had my opponent be like, okay, you're dead on board. And I go, you know, okay, well, I'll just gamble, see if I can gain 3 life or whatever and be good.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the 4th or 5th time they've printed this exact card. And I don't think I've ever flipped a coin with it.
There was one set where I flipped coin with it every single time I could. It was
probably Core 21.
I think that's what it was. There was one core set where there was like a good number of like pretty premium life gain triggers.
Yeah.
So I was just like, flip coin, do trigger, flip coin, don't do trigger, flip coin, do trigger. And it felt really, really good. We're not seeing that in this set. We've already gone through white, so I don't think it's going to be very good. But Tavern Swindler is a flavorful card.
For sure.
Which makes sense in the set. So it's not going to be as good as it has been in the past, but it's still a bear, and we're always running the bears. So this is going to be a 2.
It's a 2, yep.
All right, we have a Tenacious Underdog, a 2-mana 3/2 with Blitz. You may cast you can cast this from your graveyard using its Blitz ability. Huh? So you just do it over and over again and keep drawing cards every time it dies?
Yep.
Sick. 2-mana 3/2 with no downside. Sounds fantastic. And then once it trades, you can just redo it and draw cards forever for 4 mana.
And 2 life.
Yeah, I'm into this. This seems great. This is like a 3/5. It's a little too slow to be a 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
It's very good, but it is very slow.
It is slow.
You know, 4 mana turn after turn to not build the board and to dump all of your mana into is like, eh. But again, very good. All right, we have a 5-mana 2/2 with flying. Whenever you gain life during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever you lose life during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Tavern Swindler, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we found the Tavern Swindler payoff. Let's go. Okay, wait, let me copy pasta this name onto the Tavern Swindler so I don't forget to include it. I'm into it. Yeah, this is great. We've seen a bunch of pay life mechanics in the set. Paying
life does equal losing life. It's the same thing. Taking damage equals losing life. Anytime your life changes in a downward direction, you're losing life.
I was just trying to read their sentence the way they had phrased it. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this card is a very expensive flyer for what it is. So if you don't have a way to do this, because it's only on your turn, then we're not super excited about it. So if we don't have Tavern Swindlers or Life Linkers, I'm not playing this. This is a life gain payoff, and it feels like a split card to me.
Yeah, it's weird because we've done white and we're almost done with black, and this is the only life gain payoff we've seen.
But we've seen a lot of things that actually trigger this, so it doesn't feel like we will have a ton of cards. Even though there's not payoffs for this card, this feels like it fits well into the deck on its own, just because of how many things we see that trigger this, if that makes sense. Normally you're looking for the triggers to get these things to activate, whereas I think this just activates in the set as is. You don't really need a lot of them.
Sure, yeah. I think the card's good. I think you're right. There's going to be enough to trigger this. It just feels very out of place.
Yeah. This is like a 1/3/5.
Yep. I like that.
I love that the Tavern Swindler triggers this twice. if you hit, right, you pay 3 to activate, and then you hit, and then you gain 6, and then oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I'm into it. All right, we have a 4 mana sorcery. Target spell costs 3 less to cast if it's a white creature and gets -4/-4. I'm paying 4 mana for -4/-4 anyway. The fact that it's a sorcery is a little sad, but it could also just cost 1 mana.
Yeah, and it's just a good removal spell. And gets around shield counters.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's very, very true. Is this a 4? We typically give 4 mana sorcery destroys.
It's worse than murder. And we give murder a 4.
Our range for premium removal, especially in black, does tend to be quite wide. Like we usually see a uncommon murder-esque ability at 4, and then we see a common one that's still a 4 that just says destroy, that's sorcery speed for 4. I think this might be worse than that just because it's -4, it doesn't kill everything.
Yeah.
But does that get mitigated by the shield counters and the cost reduction?
I don't think so. I think I'd have this as a 3/5.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 3/5, but I do think that depending on how common the shield counters are, which most of those are partly in green, we're going to see, we'll see how common that is, and this could go up in value, especially because you can get multiple shield counters on creatures. It's going to be a pretty big blowout. All right, that is the end of our black cards, guys. Thank you so very, very much for watching. Make sure you guys leave us a comment down below. Let me know what you think of some of those cards. Yanks, thanks for joining us.
Anytime.
All right, guys, we'll see you guys in the next video when we take on the red cards. Thanks for watching. See you next time.